Hey everybody, it's Mark Vogt with VOGTLAND Outdoors, and today we're continuing our multi-video series on how to shoot barebow, how to get started in archery for under $100. I ordered another bow kit and we're gonna go and unwrap it today. So let's go home. I just got a call and found out my bow is waiting for me in the house. So let's go. Oh yeah, there's our new bow right there waiting for us. Let's go check it out. Let's take a look at this box. Check this out. I paid 60 bucks. 60 bucks delivered for all of that. We're going to turn it around and see what's inside. Oftentimes it's in envelope. It doesn't really open all the way up. Well, the whole kit is right there. So I'm just going to start pulling it out. That's a really nice, with a little clip, that's a wonderful little quiver. Pockets for everything. A+ already. What do we got? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 arrows. And the arrows actually feel, oh, they're the dorky little field tips, but they feel pretty good. Let's set that out. We have some targets. These look like they are about a half a meter, 40 centimeter targets. This is what you would shoot at if you were shooting at 18 meters. This is the size of your target, the size of a human chest. That's what you need to remember. 40 centimeters across. Not bad. They feel kind of vinyl-y. They don't feel like paper. And now there's a spacer. There's a little owner's manual. There's a couple of limbs. There's a metal riser. That's what I wanted to show you guys. I'm in the first video, I was using but a wooden riser. Not everybody likes wooden risers, so I decided to buy a metal one. Whole kit with gear in it. Some limb bolts for the limbs and a bowstring. The rest of it's empty, so we don't need it. Where to start? Let's lay out all the equipment before we start assembling this bow. I'm going to open up the kit bag first, and we're going to lay all the pieces out. We have what looks like to be a perfectly adequate hex key set specifically for this. I've priced these at Harbor Freight Tools. They're going to cost you about $5. Rubber coated. That's not bad. You get a little swing away arrow rest. You get a sight, which we're not going to use, but I want to put it out and show you what you're getting. So you get a regular T-bar sight that you're going to assemble. Looks like it's going to go together like this, and then bolt onto the front of the riser. Set that off to the side, so we know we're getting that. We have some arrow lube. You lube your arrows. On some targets, the arrow can penetrate so deeply into the foam that it actually, and it goes in so fast that it actually melts the plastic on the way in, melts the foam, and then it glues itself in. This helps eliminate that problem. Just a nice to have. This has the same kind of arm guard that other bow had. So I'm very pleased with this one. I'm going to set that off to the side. Sadly, we have the exact same finger tab. It was horrible then. It's horrible now. The fact that just came right off my finger, absolute junk. Not even going to say anything more about it. You do better off just using your fingers. And we have a perfectly adequate rubber tabs, rope-based rope-based bow stringer, but we're not going to use it because we're smarter than that. So let's look inside here. We got one more thing. We got identical to, this must be the same company under a different name. That's the exact same arrow puller that we had before. So let me move some of this stuff out of the way so you can see what we get. In fact, let's take all of this stuff apart. Again, open up these cases very slowly. Don't go like this, because there might be loose little strands. If there's any bamboo or slivers in here, and I can feel slivers, just a little bit of hair there. You don't want to pull fast, or you're going to drive those fiberglass slivers right into your forearm, right into your hand. And it's going to hurt, and they're going to be tough to get out. These are 84, 36, something, something, something. Must be 36 pounds. Don't know what the 84, 36, and then some kind of serial number. Here's the writing, 36 pounds at 68 inches. So if you put this on a bow whose total length is 68 inches, and I need to look and see, that's either risers come in 17 inches, 19 inches, 21 inches, 24 inches. I think there's even 27-inch risers. Plus 2 of these limbs, if they add up to 68 inches, then at if they add up to 68 inches, then at a 28-inch draw length, there's going to be 36 pounds of tension on that bowstring. Lastly, let's take a look at this riser. It's kind of pretty. It's just a starter riser. There's nothing wrong with it. Looks like cast aluminum alloy, powder coated, not spray painted. It's got a plastic handle instead of rubber. But honestly, does the job. You can screw in an arrow rest in there. You've got limb pockets where it bolts on. Not bad. All right, let's get set up and see what we got so far. For less than $100, you get a riser, 2 limbs, and a bowstring. You get 12 arrows. With perfectly decent small shield cut fletchings on them. Kind of weird little, they're poor man's knocks on here, but they're slender arrows. They're unreplaceable, unadjustable field tips that look like they're 100 grains. I found the arrows. They're about $23 for the dozen. Did you get a dozen of them? You get a very nice quiver with a lot of pockets in it. And I found a quiver. You'll see, here's one for 19, here's one for 25, here's one for 24. They're not that, the one I've got is not that good, but it's also not that bad. $13.99, $13.99. So we're gonna go with 15 bucks. Back to the video. Pocket on the outside, a zip pocket on the inside, and a clip for a belt. You get your bowstring. This is part of the bow. You get a T-bar sight. You get a nice forearm. You get a little arrow rest that's gonna set you, these run 10 bucks, guys. Like it or not, they're $10. That we're going to end up gluing right on, sticking right onto the rest, onto the riser right there in a moment. Forearm guard, you get a toolkit worth 5 bucks. You get an arrow puller worth, let's say $5. You get a bowstringer worth 5 bucks. So let's try to add this up. If I had to buy this separately, this would be between $59 and $79 for a bow like this. Let's actually round up. It's going to be $79 for this. This is going to be at least 10, that's 89. This is going to be 10, that's 99. This is going to be 5, that's 105. This is going to be 5, that's 110. This is going to be 5, that's 115. And the arrows, if you bought a dozen arrows, even of the worst kind, they're going to be about, of the absolute worst kind, like $3 arrows, or $4 arrows, you're still going to be spending 50 bucks. That's 115 plus 50 is 165, plus a quiver of any kind that actually has tubes in it. It's going to set you back about 15 bucks. So that's 165, 175, 180, about $180 for under 100 bucks. And I haven't even talked about the target or the chapstick. the arrow lubricant. That ain't bad. We're looking pretty good here. Let's take a look at the riser up front, up close. Let me reposition the camera. See what that looks like. Okay. Riser. Really good powder coating on that. I'm rather impressed. Powder coating is when they electrostatically charge this metal so things cling to it, and then they spray this reddish orange powder onto it, so it's a powder. It's hung somewhere. Then they actually go and bake it in an oven. And what happens is all of this powdered plastic melts, but more importantly, it fuses into the metal. So it's got a real grip. When you spray paint, when all you do is spray paint on something, the spray only goes in on the surface of the metal, but when you cook it in, when you bake it in, then any gases that are inside the metal actually boil off, the gas out, and when the whole surface starts to cool off, the gases inside there actually shrink, and that powder coating sticks on even more fiercely. So powder coated, quite nice. It's aluminum, so it's got a stainless steel insert in here that's threaded because the aluminum couldn't handle that kind of pressure. Here they took a chance and actually tapped the metal, but you'll notice that it's a great big solid chunk of aluminum right here that they tapped into so that it can handle the pull that the load that's going to be on those nuts, rather those bolts when they hold the limbs on. Checking a look at it, just general straightness. What I'm looking for is to see if there's any kind of immediate flaws that pop out at me. And actually, it's pretty good. We are going to put the limbs on. Let's take a look at the first one. Nothing remarkable about the limbs, but nothing ugly either. They actually cut the groove in before they coated it. Nice finish on the grooves there, adequate finish. There's just nothing particularly good, but there's nothing particularly bad about the finish. This one's got the writing on it, so the way to see the writing tells you that this is the lower half. Let's put this one on. We're going to take one of these bolts out. One piece Neuro bolt looks good. I'm going to slip it in place. Hold it with my thumb. Turn it in. I'm looking to see how many times it engages threads. I need at least 3 or 4 down inside, and it looks like I'm going to get like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 sets of threads all the way down. It is engaged literally down to here. So that limb isn't going anywhere. There's a little bit of play. Let's back you up. Tilt you up a little bit. Tilt you up a little bit. And let's look down this limb. Same as last time, I'm trying to teach you guys how to see if you bought a turd or not. You're looking for some kind of limb bending. We want to actually line up down the center of this hole, lined up with the center of this hole, lined up with the center of that limb bolt, lined up with the absolute dead center tip here. We're going to use that as our sight, and we're going to try to decide if this is bent at all. And actually, looks pretty good on that side. I got to take my glasses off for a second. I can't quite tell if there's a bend or not. It might be the teeniest little bend like this. But it's so small. No, it actually looks really good, guys. See if that helps you. See if you can see that. All right, let's put the top limb on. Hold it underneath your arm. Grab the limb. Grab the bolt. Put them together like this. This way the weight, most of the weight of the whole bow and riser is all being supported underneath my arm. So I'm not going to drop it. It's easier for me to manipulate both hands now because my underarm is acting like a vise. Hold it in place. Get it started. It's kind of a lot of metal on metal contact there. If I were going to do something, the next thing I would do is that I would take this. Needs a little bit of lubrication. You got choices. You could put beeswax from your bowstring, put beeswax on there. You could take paraffin like candle wax and put paraffin on here, or you could even take that chapstick, that arrow lube, and put it on here. What you don't want is metal on metal contact, because if this is just paint, and if there's bare metal on the inside here, then potentially you'll at the very least get something called galling. Metal, dissimilar metal contact can cause the metals to fuse into each other. That's called galling, and it grips. You don't want that. The other thing is, if this is metal and this is steel, if this is steel and this is steel, there's potentially going to be rust in there, and you don't want that either. So putting some kind of a lubricant on is going to be what I do next. Let's put this in. Great engagement there. No complaints. No movement either. Now comes the real test. I got to back this up even farther, because now I'm going to be lining up the whole bow. This tip, center of that tip, center of this knurled handle, center of this tapped hole for the stabilizer, center of this knurled handle, all the way down to this tip. Those are what I'm trying to line up. And I'm trying to see how that looks. And actually, since it's metal, guys, that is pretty damn good. I can only line up about 2/3 of the bow, from here to here to here to there. I can't quite get the whole bow in, so I have to do it in 2 pieces. I'm going to do that side first, and then I'm going to flip it around and look at this side. But I'm watching from here across that other one, across the other knurled handle. Damn, that looks good. I can't see any bend. I don't see any bend this way, which would be horrible. And I don't see any tip. It's not twisted at the end like this. You got 2 different kinds of warping that you can have in your limb. The limb literally is curved like that. Or you can say that the limb is twisted one way or the other. Neither one is good. You don't want any. You're going to eventually have a little bit. The bows, all limbs end up wearing eventually. They tire in one direction and they lose some of their springiness. But you don't want anything to start. And this actually looks really good. So far, I can't actually detect any bend or twist or warping at all. Let's flip the back side and see. The back sides can often tell us something's going on. And I see some. This tip is tipped out this way ever so slightly. I'm going to see if you guys can help spot that. What I want you to do is pay attention to how the bow limb starts to move away from the line of the handle. If I show you it like this, it may become a little bit more pronounced. It's usable, but there is a little bit of bend there. Like it just went into the, oh yeah, it was just a limb pocket. It actually can move in the limb pocket. So how would I correct this? You got 2 choices. The easiest one is you're going to put tape on either side of the bow limb. 1 layer of tape, 1 layer of tape that's going to wedge it in there. And if you don't like the alignment that you get, then you're going to take, if it's all still leaning to one side, then you're going to take the tape off the side you need it to go to, and you're going to put a piece of tape on the side you need it to go from. Make it thicker on that side, and it will all shift over. But for right here, right now, it'll get the job done just fine. There's not enough bend that I'm seeing in here. This surface, instead of the surface being completely flat, it looks like it's a little bit like this. See if you guys can see that. You see how this side is a little high? Let's look at this side. And this side seems, yeah, same thing. The side is just a little bit high. I wonder why that is. All right, still looks good. Let's put the string on next and actually see if that string is the right size for this bow. Remember that if you put it on the bow, what you're really looking for is a brace. The distance between the bowstring and the inner web, the innermost web of the handle, should only be about 1 fist wheel, about this distance from here to here. Not bigger, not smaller. If it's smaller, you'll get a lot of string slap here and here. The bow will be noisy. You'll also get a lot of slap on your wrist. It'll hurt. The bowstring gets to move too much, enough to slap your wrist, and it's painful. On the flip side, if the bowstring is way out like this, the limbs are going to be overextended. You're actually going to lose power on your bow, part of the power stroke, because the limbs physically aren't going to be able to move that last little bit of distance before it releases the arrow, before the arrow leaves the bowstring. One last test. We want to see how well balanced this is. And actually, it wants to tip backwards a little bit. Not a lot. It doesn't come down and hit me on the head, which I'm always afraid of. That is a little bit more than I expected, than I wanted. I would have liked it better if it were holding up like this, but it wants to tip back a little bit. We got to still keep in mind how much we paid for this. I think this whole kit was something like 89 bucks. It might even been less than that. It might have been 59. I'll go double check. But the feel of it, that handle, I want you guys to check out that handle. It's black, it's plastic. I got fairly big hands. I wear XL gloves. I'm 6'1", 245 pounds. But this feels pretty good. Before I go any further, before I touch this riser anymore and get my greasy fingers on it, I'm going to put the arrow rest on right now. To put the arrow rest on, it looks like there's a piece of peel-off plastic. The way the arrow rest goes on is the pin of the arrow rest points in the direction of arrow travel. And it looks like there's a little circle right there. That circle goes right over this hole where the plunger is going to fit. That later on, when you want to tune the plunger on your arrow, on your riser, you'll have room for it. So I'm just going to peel this off. You only get one shot at this, so don't screw it up. I'm going to peel that tape off. There's actually another little piece in there. There's a piece of tape in there that needs to get popped off. There. They just put one piece of sticky foam over the top, and then they punched a hole, but they left the hole in it. Okay, now I need to very carefully center this so that it's level and sitting over the top of that hole. I'm going to actually hold the bow under my arm in one hand. Hope this shows up. We wanted it tipped ever so slightly up, well, actually horizontal, and centered on that hole. As good as you can manage. Set it on there light. Try to line it up first. I got to take the top limb off for this so I can show you guys. When you're setting these limb bolts down, set them toe up. All right, I barely touched this on so I can peel it off if I need to. But you're trying to get it lined up here, parallel with this right here, and lined up so that there. Geez, everything's hitting into my camera tripod. It actually looks pretty good, guys. a little long for this bow, kind of unusual. You know, that it sticks out on this side. I'm going to leave it, but I'm going to take points off for that. Should never have happened. They actually punched this hole a little too far to the left. So now this whole arrow rest ends up sitting slightly off of the riser. And you lose points for that, guys. Sorry. Now we gently press this in place. And we don't put a lot of stress on it until it has a chance to cure overnight even. Don't start putting arrows on here. You never know that the glue that's underneath there, that adhesive, might actually need some time to really chemically bond with the surface of that powder coating. Look, don't press it. And if you need to tip this thing up, you're just gonna bend that little piece of wire a little bit, bend it up. If you're dropping arrows, if they lay on there and fall off, lay on there, fall off, lay on there, fall off, lay on there, then you're just gonna bend that lid up a little bit, just like this. Just bend it up. Oh, there, a little bit better. Then it's got a little magnetic piece of magnet right there that when the arrow starts flying across it, it just gets out of the way. So they're actually a pretty good rest, really. They're pretty durable. I wouldn't go hunting with it, but do I compete with it like that? Yeah, regular basis. Let's put the other limb on and put the string on and see what we got. Yeah, too much metal on metal. I understand what you get for 59 bucks. And there's ways to fix that. Like I said, with paraffin, with beeswax. That's what I would, oh, I got beeswax. You can buy big chunks of beeswax at any candle making or soap making store. It's cheap. Don't go into a bow shop and buy beeswax, guys. You buy a chunk of beeswax like this, they might want $40 for it. But you go into a candle shop and you try to buy a chunk like this, $3. Never buy anything, this kind of stuff that you can get at a craft store. Never buy it at an archery shop. Sorry, guys. Those archery shop guys that all try to sell that stuff for archery beeswax, shame on you. It's just beeswax. All right, let's take this off. Let's get this well coated. And then put it back. Quieter. Did you hear that? Can't even hear it go in now. That's what it's supposed to be like. Is it quiet? To the other side. Listen to this. Hear that? That's what I don't want. All that metal on metal contact. And it's dissimilar metals possibly. So it's going to eventually be galling. Now. Let's get it well coated like that. And let's put it back in and see if it's just as noisy. Silent. How cool is that? Can't even hear it. That's what we want. Nice quiet bow. Quiet bows are happy bows. Here. Okay. Time to put the bowstring on. Let's get set up to show you guys that too. See if I can fit this in right there. This bowstring has only the smallest coating of beeswax on it, that the fibers aren't even together. You want to put some twists in there. Remember, you want to try to find the short half. Sometimes they make these loops that the bigger loop is the one that you're going to be taking on and off all the time, and the smaller loop goes on the bottom, but you don't know. They are two different sizes. This one should be the bottom loop. The bigger one should be the top loop. And it sure looks like it, because if you look, you'll see that this side is taller. This side is lower on this side. This side is taller, which means this much string is shorter. And it's the shorter string that typically is the upper half of the bowstring, which makes this the lower. So I'm going to put this one on first with a smaller loop. Let's take a look at this. The small loop goes on the bottom. You see the difference? The big loop goes on the top. Why? Why would they make the big loop go on the top? Because you're taking it off, putting it on, taking it off, putting it on, taking it off, putting it on. So it's easier to work with if it's a little bit bigger. It's easier for your hands to get around. That's all. Ease of use. Let's put the bottom one on first. I'm going to put it on. Make sure it's snug. Pinch it right in there. Draw it up along the side. I'm looking to see where the twists are. The twists are, if you look, the twists are going that way. So I want to put a couple more twists in. About like that. And now I'm going to check and see where we're at. It looks like we're about a ½ inch up the groove, which should be good placement. I'm going to hold the string with the loop out, step through with my right leg, come in line with the bow, with the limbs right here. Gently pull back on the limbs, not gripping it or anything. I'm going to look for some place to hold on to so that I can move and get my foot out from there. No, 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 no. Look at how it's extra bent right there. It's not a happy bow. This is not a happy bow right here. This is not a happy bow. This is not normal for a bow like this to have this big of a brace. It's off by almost 3 finger widths. It's off. It should be right about here. I'm going to pause the camera, go look into my supply of bowstrings to try to find one that's a closer fit, that's a longer fit by about that much. This one is only about that much longer. We're going to see if it fits or not. Same thing as before. The smaller loop goes on the bottom. Bigger loop is the one that you manipulate with your hand. So here goes. It should improve things. Remember, we're trying to remove a 3-finger excess gap, excess brace, sorry. Let's see. Fingers crossed. Bring it right up to the center so that when you pull, bring it right up to the center of the limb so that when you start to pull, you know you're perfectly in line. It's better. See how we've eliminated almost all of that excess. It's only about 1 finger now. We can live with that. It's enough to, this bow looks happier. Looking to make sure that it's actually looped on both sides of the limb nocks. Looks pretty good. Now comes the moment of truth. Now we're going to line up like this. We're going to use this to see if there's any other challenges here. Actually, what you're trying to do, guys, is you're trying to sight from the center of this down through the center of this support right here, right through this center, right through what would be the center of the arrow rest, where the arrow would be. You want it to be going right through the center of that arrow, through the center of the back of this handle, and then down the center of this. And you're using that bowstring to look down and see all of that. See if I can show you. You're trying to look like that. And actually, guys, that looks pretty good. There's no big bends. There's no noticeable bends. There's no twists at the end of the tips. Look again. I think I do better when I look through the camera viewfinder. Let's try this one more time. Down. This. Other way. See that? That's pretty good. $59 bow. Feels good. It's dark out. It's 5 o'clock here in the western suburbs of Chicago, so it's too late to go shoot this. We're going out first thing in the morning. But my initial impressions about this particular kit, if I'm being really honest with everybody, I like this bow better than I like the wooden one. This feels nice in my hand. This feels good. It still tips back a little bit, but it feels good where my hand fits inside here. This feels nice. I'm looking forward to shooting this bow. And we're going to find another bow here. We're going to find another bow that you can buy for under $100, complete with a kit, that actually is going to shoot really nice. Let's take a look at the arrows and then call it, and then wrap up for the day. So I'm going to set this down. I already talked about the arm guard. It looks exactly like the other one, and I like that one. I don't like all these straps, but it gets the job done, and it feels good on your skin. The arrows are what we care about next. Let's see if those arrows are even straight. Is this a straight arrow, guys? I see curve. Do you see the curve to the right? It's curving towards the cock feather, the white feather. Yeah. It definitely curves to the right. Curves towards this white feather. Do you see that? I'll turn it around. Now do you see that curve? The irony is, it's still going to shoot pretty well. And the shaft, I feel it stiff right there, not stiff, 90 degrees. So the shaft is not symmetrical in terms of its stiffness. It feels stiff. Ugh. Like right there, I swear to God, it's like the shaft is oval, like this. It's not round, it's like this. So when you try to bend it this way, it's very stiff. But when you try to bend it this way, it's actually weaker, noticeably weaker. And it is definitely weak. It's oval shaped this direction, like this. This cross section, I can feel it. You could just bend a little and rotate, and you can feel, whoop, right there, whoop, right there, whoop, right there. So you may get 12 of them, but they're 12 totally mediocre arrows. But we're going to go shoot tomorrow and see how they shoot anyways. Because this is all about what do you get for $100. But let me tell you so far, this quiver with a pocket on the side and a nice little pocket here for the stuff you get out in and out all the time. Your glove, a scorecard, arrow puller. There is nothing wrong with that. That's actually better. Outtakes. That's a nice quiver. The one big plus here is that if this is really a very sub $100 bow, I think it was 59 or 69 bucks.
I paid 60 bucks. 60 bucks delivered.
This bow alone is absolutely worth the money. I had no idea that was going to turn out so nice. So what I'm going to do tonight is take this metal knocking point off from years ago. I'm going to put on my adjustable knocking point, and we're going out first thing in the morning to Blackwell Forest Preserve, and we're going to test shoot the bow. We'll see you out there.